I got a reason to sing, a reason to dance. I've still got a reason for joy, to still clap my hands. I got a reason, not based in believing. It's all 'cause I know who I am. If you knew my story, you know I got a reason to dance. If you knew my story, you know I got a reason to dance. Let's sing that again. I got a reason to sing, a reason to dance. I still got a reason for joy, to still clap my hands. Woo! I got a reason, not based in believing. It's all 'cause I know who I am. If you knew my story, you know I got a reason to dance. Woo! Hey! If you knew my story, you know I got a reason to dance. I've got a reason to love, a reason to share. I've still got a reason to build, still reason to care. I got a reason, not based in believing. It's all 'cause I know who I am. If you knew my story, you know I got a reason to dance. If you knew my story, you know I got a reason to dance. Hey, if you knew my story, you know I got a reason to dance. Hey, if you knew my story, you know I got a reason to dance. When I think of all the things I've learned on the greatness of the vast unknown, how could I not be overwhelmed in awe of the majesty being alive right now? When I think of all the things I've learned on the greatness of the vast unknown, how could I not be overwhelmed in awe of the majesty being alive right now? If you knew my story, you know I got a reason to dance. If you knew my story, you know I got a reason to dance. If you knew my story, you know I got a reason to dance. To sing, to clap my hands for every night, have reason. If you knew my story, you know. Oh, you knew my story, you know. If you knew my story, you know. If you knew my story, you know. If you knew my story, you know I got a reason. I still got a reason. I still have a reason. Not based in believing, but I still got a reason. If you knew my story, you know I got a reason to dance.
You got a reason, would
Hello,
you be
beautiful
loud
people.
about
How
it?
are you doing out there? Listen,
you got a reason.
welcome
you still
Sunday
got a reason,
sessions.
would
You
you
know,
be
this
loud?
is our weekly touch point for connection, community, and conversation. So whether you're watching us live, thank you, or you're watching on the global campus or having a local watch party, or you're going to catch the replay, we appreciate you too, okay? And it wouldn't be right if we didn't mention our mission, and that is to simply help you connect better, build better, and live better. And our values are also clear. We are forward thinking, we are people centric, and we are life affirming, okay? Affirm yourself sometimes. That's what you got to do. Our why is the heartbeat of it all, and that is that people matter. Everything we do revolves around that concept that people matter. And we don't all have it together, right? We don't have to be perfect here. We are just intentional about connection and shared responsibility and honest thinking, okay? And I love that about us. Now, if this is your first time with us, listen, we have a first time gift for you. I need you to follow that link, okay, on the screen, or click it on the chat, okay? And that is our small token of hospitality, and it's just giving you a guide of how to navigate connection a little bit better. So we would love for you to go ahead and get that. And if you are a regular, you are a returner, okay, and this is home for you, of course, we appreciate you as well. You keep us going, you keep us moving, you keep us motivated. And I'm so excited for this new series because our March series, we're going to be talking about the greater gospel. Okay. You remember the good news? We talk about the greater gospel, okay? For a long time, many of us have been given a gospel that's been kind of too small, right? And now we're moving beyond those old frameworks and we're discovering something more powerful. And so throughout this series, we're going to be exploring how freedom from religious superstition actually gives us a greater gospel, one that is radical but also inclusive and deeply empowering and centered on human flourishing here and now. So we're moving from a message of escape to a message of evolution. How about that? And by the end of the series, the goal is for us to see when you lose the constructs, you don't lose the truth. You finally find freedom in it. Okay. And by the way, if you didn't know, March is Women's History Month and also National Reading Month. I have 4 book recommendations for you for my, these are by U.S. women authors, but of course, those in other countries, please drop your women authors in the chat that you love and your recommendations as well. Listen, I have to mention Maya Angelou, okay? She has 7 autobiographies, but this one is one of my favorites. It's her second one, Gathered Together in My Name. I love this. This is continuing after I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings. If you want to dive a little bit more into her mindset, she is super funny. In her earlier years, this is a good one to follow and read. And none other, this next one, The Three Mothers. And this is how the mothers of Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and James Baldwin shaped a nation. This is so good. This dives more into the mother's life and their journey and how they navigated as they were having children and how they raised them and what happened during that. And this is by Anna Tubb. So go check that out. If you're into historical fiction and you haven't checked out The Personal Librarian, this actually came out last year. This is 2 women. They're co-authors of this book, and they actually write together a lot. And that's Marie Benedict and Victoria Christopher Morey. And this book follows Belle DaCosta and her family. Her name's actually Bella, and how she got the job with JP Morgan Chase, and it's a very interesting journey here and what their family goes through and what she decides to do. And if you don't know about Miss Taylor Jenkins Reid, oh my goodness, she writes some amazing stories. She came out with a book in 2025 called Atmosphere. And this book actually follows women scientists, the first women scientists who went out to be a part of the NASA space shuttle program in the 1980s. And so, a very great story. And if you don't already, what are you waiting on? Go ahead and follow me on my YouTube channel at DaranteLaMar. I had to plug it in, okay? give me a time to plug it in. But over there, I do bookish content, motivational videos, personal development, and a little vlogs here and there. So if you like that type of content, go hang out with me over there. All right. But before we get into today's conversation, let's go ahead and check out Bridge City News.
What's up, Bridge City? Happy Sunday or whatever day it is on your side of the world. My name is Elaine, and I'm here to give you a look at what's happening across our community. There's a lot going on here. We are growing and shifting and unfolding, and I want to make sure that you're in the loop. At Bridge City Global, Women's History Month is a time to honor the brilliance, resilience, and leadership of women whose impact shapes families, workplaces, movements, and communities across the world every single day. From organizing and caregiving to leading change, building businesses, and creating opportunity, women are often a driving force behind strong, thriving communities. This month, we celebrate the power of women and recommit to building communities that reflect their strength, wisdom, and lasting influence. We're under construction. We've officially launched the lobby of our global campus. It's a one-stop shop to move through the campus experience and see how we're growing and expanding as a community. There, you will find a welcome center, event center, business center, and more. Drop by today and check out how our global campus is expanding to accommodate our growth. Want to host a watch party? Have you ever been in the middle of a Sunday session and thought, I wish this was available in my city in person? Well, you could be the person who becomes that spark. Hosting a weekly watch party is the first step to bringing the Bridge City experience to your city. A watch party is a small, in-person gathering, usually 3 or more people, where friends meet at someone's home or venue to watch the community's weekly online session together, creating a shared experience for community, conversation, and growth. It's about building relationships and community around our mission and message, with hosts providing a welcoming space, food, and discussion supported by our community resources. Visit the link to discover everything you need to start, host, and lead a watch party. Every first Sunday of the month is Bridge City Movie Night. And in April, we'll be watching Sinners, a supernatural horror thriller directed by Ryan Coogler, who also directed Marvel's Black Panther movies. Wakanda Forever, yes, hunting! Sinners features Michael B. Jordan in a dual role as 1930s Mississippi twins, Smoke and Stat, who have returned to their hometown to start a life anew. The brothers open a juke joint only to confront a terrifying evil that forces them to defend their community over a single brutal night. Your girl can't handle all that, so Elaine gonna be sitting this one out, but y'all make sure y'all show up, okay? Connect with like-minded people on a deeper level by joining one of our clubs. This month, we're highlighting the Wellness Club. The Wellness Club is dedicated to fostering self-awareness and emotional well-being through mindful practices. Members will explore tools and practices like breathing exercises, meditation, journaling, and stretching, all aimed at promoting emotional regulation and inner growth. Expect regular posts featuring wellness activities and self-care practices. Join, share, and learn which tools resonate best for you to cultivate a more balanced and resilient mindset. So make sure y'all join us in the Wellness Club. To all of our new members, welcome. We know that joining a new community, especially online, can be overwhelming. That's why we've been intentionally working on building a campus experience that helps orient you and makes it easy to navigate all that Bridge City is and offers. If you haven't already, visit the link today and make the most of your member experience, because at Bridge City, membership matters. Since the start of the year, more than 40 people have made the decision to connect with Bridge City as their community of choice, and we couldn't be more excited. Every new connection is a step closer to a better world. Make sure to explore the campus, complete the new member journey, and introduce yourself so that you can start making an impact. Are you ready to get involved? Visit our Teams page to explore the growing number of opportunities to do the work of community. As we're moving from conceptual to operational, we need volunteers to be the bridge so that people can see the vision. Volunteering isn't just about helping the community look good. It's how we empower the community to actually do good. Every volunteer expands our capacity to support our growing body of members and mobilize around our mission in real time. And it's also the easiest way to build new relationships that make life meaningful. Becoming a volunteer gives you more people to call, more people to laugh with, and more people to face life with. Visit the link on the screen to explore the growing number of opportunities to get involved. And if you don't see anything that piques your interest, reach out to the team. At Bridge City, we understand that a greater gospel requires a greater commitment to one another. Every second Tuesday of the month is Giving Tuesday. Now, you know how we do things over here. We don't ask for tithes, we don't collect dues, and we certainly don't use guilt as a motivator. However, this community is sustained by the regular, intentional contributions of our members. Your radical generosity is what empowers us to show up every Sunday. It's what allows us to provide an expansive global campus experience and to launch the local events that make new, real-world communities possible. Giving Tuesday is our monthly reminder that this vision doesn't build itself. It's built by people. We can't offer you a mansion in the afterlife in exchange for your gift. But what we can offer is continued community, expanding resources, and the collective power to change the world in real time. If you understand our mission is worth building and our vision is worth supporting, mark the second Tuesday of this month on your calendar. Let's choose association over isolation, and let's fund the freedom we're finding together. Generosity is making this possible, and thank you for building with us. That's everything for this week. This is a great opportunity to share the stream before the conversation starts. And if you haven't already, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And as always, thank you for being the bridge. Let's get into today's conversation. Take it away, Darante.
Out as always to our team, and I'll go ahead and mute me here. There we go. Major shout out to everybody who's on our team today. Is going to be incredibly different. I'm going to have to be talking to the stream and the room at the same time, and we'll see if my neurospicy can handle that. We'll see how that goes. But super duper glad to have everybody in the streams. Glad to have you all here in the room today. Yes, listen to that. Now that's what I'm talking about. Oh, that felt so good. All right, so for those of you who are watching online, and well, for those of you in the room too, if this is your first time, and obviously this would be your first time, we've never done this here before. For those of you who are watching, we're at MSU today. You saw it on the thumbnail, you saw it, but we're at MSU today. If this is your first time here, we do have a special gift that we'd like to give to you, and you can go to that link on the screen. And as I say every weekend, this is not an attempt to get your email address. We have other ways to do that. So we will not ask you for your email address here. It is simply a PDF that you can have access to immediately to help you connect better. Also, as we do every week, as you're joining the stream, let us know where you're watching from. We'd love to be able to, for all you know, you might be watching with your neighbor. Last Sunday, we did that, and there were 3 people watching from Colorado. So that was really fun. All right. So because we're actually here live today, I'm just going to kind of jump right into this. And I think we're going to have a good time. I don't want to keep anybody too long. This is week 3 or week 4 of the Greater Gospel. And I'm really curious to know how y'all are feeling about it, especially those online. I know y'all are new, so y'all don't know how y'all are feeling about it yet, but we'll find out by the end of it. But how are y'all feeling about it? We have one more week in this series from a main talk perspective. But the last Sunday of the month, we're going to have some special guests joining us to close out the series strong. And I don't know if I put the slide in here, but if I did, Z, if you could put that on the screen for me. Thank you so much. We're going to be joined by I was about to say my name first, but I mean, I might as well. I'll be there. I will be there. But also Kyle Butler, who is also an ex-pastor, ex-Pentecostal pastor. So he and I have a lot in common there. He left the faith and can't shut up about it. So he's always on TikTok and on Instagram, sharing his deconstruction journey, sharing not just his deconstruction journey, but where he is today and how he's still helping people. There's Britt Hartley of No Nonsense Spirituality. She's also going to be with us. She's also a former minister. She's come out and she's out here still doing the work. And then Joe is kind of the namesake for this series. And so I'll kind of get in that story a little bit in a few. But all of them will be here with us. Well, not here. They'll be online. But all of them will be with us next week for our last conversation in this series. And I am so looking forward to that. For those of you who are in the chat, please be gracious with me today. I probably won't be able to keep up as much as I used to, so we're gonna play around with it. For those of you who are new to our to Bridge City and our Sunday sessions, we're in a new series. For the entire month of March, we've been in a series called The Greater Gospel, and I was just kind of joking with my wife this morning. Like, I still cringe every time I hear the name of our own series, but it's named this way for a reason, and that reason. Excuse me, I've shared every Sunday so far is because of a conversation I had with Joe Pittinger at NanoCon last year. After getting to meet him, I realized he was somebody that was still doing the work that I was doing, a former pastor that for whatever reason is still out here preaching, but now you're preaching humanism or you're preaching critical thinking. And so I asked him, I said, why do you still do this? Like, I have a sneaky suspicion of why I still do this, but I'm very curious as to why you still do this. And he said it like almost without thinking, I do this because we have the bigger gospel. And I had to sit there and think about that for a moment. I'm like, man, you are absolutely right. We do have the bigger gospel. We opened this series up with I've got great news. And that was just the idea that the good news is nobody has to die for me to be loving to somebody else. That's actually the great news. The good news was someone has to die in order for me to love you. The good news was someone has to be a sacrifice in order for me to love you. The greater news is no one has to die for me to be loving. No one has to die for me to be caring. That's the greater news. Then we shift it to who do you love? Because many times we can get so caught up in the things that we don't like, the things that we hate about the world, that we don't focus on who we love. And that's what needs the attention, what we love, the things we care about. And then last week, we talked about the death of the one, which is actually one of my favorites because probably one of the most insidious things that Christianity, I got to stay close to the mic, got to remember that. One of the insidious things that Christianity does to us is shifts our focus from the many to the one. And so we begin to believe things such as through one man, sin came into the world, and through one man, the world will be saved. When the reality is, through many of us, we cause these problems, and through many of us, we're going to have to work together and solve them. So if you haven't caught on yet, this series has had somewhat of a theme. Each week, we've taken key components of what is culturally and societally accepted as the good news and contrasted it with what we're calling the greater news that many of us have found in embracing a post-religious, people-centric worldview. I've asserted many times throughout this series that some of us who left the faith did not leave just because the gospel is broken, because we had been trained in many ways to see ourselves as the fixers of the faith. That was our job, to be ministers of reconciliation, to find the incoherence and make it make sense. That's almost what biblical hermeneutics is to find an interpretation that makes sense to the audience of choice. So we didn't leave just because the gospel was broken. We left also because the gospel was limited. The gospel confined who we could love, how we could love, who we could show up for, or even why we could show up for others. We inevitably left because this gospel was too limited. It put restrictions on who we could love, support, serve, and celebrate. It forced us to filter goodness through doctrinal compliance instead of a sincere, rational desire to decrease harm and increase well-being. What I realized is that losing my faith did not cost me my compassion. It expanded the boundaries of it. My love does not have to stop at my neighbor. It can continue throughout the whole world. And that's the product of what we're calling the greater gospel. The recognition that dead people do not get to choose who we love or how we live. And not only that, when we let go of a savior to bow to and a Satan to blame, we regain the senses to build together. Not because we bow to the same ideology, not because we're headed to the same afterlife, but because we're occupying the same planet in this life. To me, that's a greater gospel. That's great news. The great news is that we are not saved through substitution. And I want to drive this a little bit. We are developed through participation. We are not saved through substitution. We are developed through participation. The reality is that, yes, we are the problem, but it is also that, yes, we are the solution. And we have a long history of self-correcting that doesn't have to stop here. And when I think about it, that's really one of the things that religion robs us of, is our history of self-correcting. When we see ourselves as people who started in perfection and fell from that perfection, we see ourselves, we refuse to see that we've actually climbed from a greater depth, and the way we've done that is through consistent self-correction. This is what has got us this far. And for me, that was the greatest news that I'd ever realized, that practical problems do not require magical solutions. The bad news is, and I'm sorry to disappoint, but there is no one person who can solve the problems of humanity, regardless of how magically exceptional or magically delicious they are. That was a communion joke, if you caught it. All right. So the great news is that if we continue to work together and commit to learn our lessons, then we can continue to rise. The greater gospel isn't a call to ignore harm in the world. It's an understanding of our capacity and an accepting of our responsibility to do something about it. It's a reminder that the world desperately needs more people who love life and are more concerned about the living than the dead. And now that I see that I'm in love with the possibilities of us, that's why I can't shut up about it. So when Joe said we have the bigger gospel, man, that rang within me deeply. No, that's why I cannot shut up about it, because leaving religion, it wasn't just me losing my faith. It was me gaining perspective. It was me gaining reality. And it was me opening my eyes to new possibilities. In a world where I had once believed that the only hope for humanity was for Superman to come down and save the day, I now realize that we were capable of working together and saving ourselves. And there is no greater message than that. And that message is that I need you and you need me, because we are a part of the same community, and that community is global. I've said it this way. We are all space apes on a floating rock, okay? We are sharing the same high occupancy vehicle. We are sharing the same carpool, and so we owe it to each other to be there for each other. But knowing that knowing that there isn't a devil that's keeping us from fixing our flaws, knowing that there isn't a divine plan that says you just can't get right, that is freedom, that is liberty, that is a greater gospel. Knowing what's wrong with religion is not a flex. It's actually rather unfortunate that it has taken us this long to recognize what's wrong with religion. Nor is it effective in decreasing harm or increasing well-being. I can go around and point out all of the flaws in scripture, and it will not decrease harm, and it will not increase well-being. I can tell you everything that's foolish about the Bible. We can talk about all of the ways that religion has evolved, about the ways that it has risen, and the ways that it has fallen, but none of that will increase harm or decrease well-being. Knowing what's wrong is not a flex, and it's not enough to decrease harm. Religion could disappear overnight, and it would not solve one significant problem. Knowing the problems of religion is not the same as understanding the problems of humanity. And then, even if you understand all the problems, knowing the problem is not the same as knowing the solution. And then, even if you thought you had figured out a solution, knowing a solution without sharing the solution, and that's where I'm going with this, is withholding valuable information. It was Carl Sagan who said, and I quote, when you are in love with something, you want to tell the world. And so my question to people who have left religion is, what are you in love with? Now that you have left the love of imagination, now that you've left the love of delusion, now that you've left the love of false mythology, what do you love now? When you're in love with something, you want to tell the world about it. That's why me, Britt, that's why me, Britt, Kyle, and Joe, that's why we still do what we do, because we didn't leave something that we hate. We found something that we love. And because we found something that we love, that's our greater gospel. We have something worth sharing, so why not share it? We have something worth living out loud, so why not live it unapologetically? Sure, we don't have religion to push us to support those in need. I get it. But we have a reason to support those around us, and that's greater. Sure, I do not have a religion to command me to give to the poor, but I have a reason not to want to see anyone else suffering, and that's enough. No one should have to die to compel me to be concerned for people that I see every day. And so, in the spirit of this series, see what I did there? This weekend, we're starting with another key component of what has been socially accepted as good news, and that is the resurrection. 2 weeks from now, you're going to see it everywhere. He is risen. And that reminds me of a joke. I'm not going to say it. The good news is that one man came and bore the sins of humanity and died and rose again with all power, and therefore solved the sin problem and saved the world. And yet here we are 2,000 years later, and according to Christians, sin is still a problem, and the world is still not saved. To quote a line from the movie Evan Almighty, awkward. If one man's resurrection is not going to be the cure to our problems, then maybe society's continued evolution will be a better step in a greater direction. Because reality doesn't currently indicate that we started in perfection and fell from grace. I could see why someone would think we need a savior if that story reflected an accurate view of the data available, but it does not. When I look through the lens of currently perceivable reality, I don't see a fall from grace. I see an awkward, complex, but steady rise. So while the good news was he is risen, the greater gospel is that we are rising. Rising doesn't mean we're finished. It doesn't mean that we've had a linear journey. It doesn't mean that all progress is permanent. Rising means humanity has the capacity to learn, to adjust, and to build better. Awkward, uneven, incomplete, but completely upward capable. That's who we are. That's what the record shows. The old good news was one body got up from the grave. The greater gospel is that a species keeps getting up from ignorance, brutality, fragmentation, and limitation, and we cannot let ourselves forget that in a world of propaganda. That is our story. That is our legacy. That's what we've come from. Have we done some harmful things? Yes, but that is the price of growth. We are a species that keeps getting up from our ignorance. We keep learning from our mistakes. And it would be so sad to get this far and choose to stop learning here. We've come a mighty long way. So it is not he is risen, it is we are rising. We are rising through medicine, through ethics, through cooperation, through expanded circles of concern, through science, through education, through community, and through better structures of belonging. The resurrection story offers hope through triumph of one exceptional person over death. The greater story offers hope through the ongoing development of humanity in the face of complexity. Our hope is not that one man got up once, but that people keep getting up again and again, intellectually, morally, socially, and collectively. It doesn't matter if Michael Jordan can dunk a ball one time. If he can't do it again, what does that mean? Who cares if Jesus can get up one time? We have historically gotten up for over 200,000 years ago, over and over and over again. That's a greater gospel to me. All right, so let's get some context before we jump into the content, because I don't want to go too far. Y'all know I'll get preachy. I'm sorry, chat, if I've been ignoring y'all. It's just been getting good to me. It's been getting good to me. All right, so the core elements of the gospel are this: God's holiness and humanity's sin. So in essence, God is holy, but all people have sinned and are separated from him, deserving spiritual death. All right. The second part is Jesus is the substitute. Jesus, who is both God And also somehow, man, you do with that however you want to do that. It's like Schrodinger's God, I guess. He lived a sinful life and died on the cross to pay the penalty for humanity's sins. Then there's the resurrection. Jesus rose from the dead, proving his power over sin and death, offering hope for eternal life. And then the most important part, the response of faith. The gift of salvation is received through repentance and faith in Jesus Christ alone. Good works, not good works or religious deeds. Now, just within the first core element, we can already see a problem, one of those limitations that I spoke of earlier. But this is even more insidious because it highlights a fatal flaw in the good news that often gets overlooked. At its core, the gospel is not about increasing the well-being of humanity. Ooh, thank you. Its primary concern about what it calls sin is not the harm it causes on earth, but the absence it creates in heaven. Okay. Again, the problem was God is holy, but all people have sinned and are separated from him. Therefore, they can't go to heaven and they cannot worship him, and he does not have an army of worshipers. So at the core of the gospel, the central concern is not harm, but it's just absence in heaven. The goal is not to make life better on earth. In the good news, earth is ultimately a lost cause, and the true hope is the afterlife. According to the gospel and the library of books that it is contained in, life has little value. It is but a vapor, a drop in the bucket is the way the Psalms call it. I don't know if we have any DC Comics fans out there, but I think we've just found the anti-life equation, because it seems here, and it's amazing. It's amazing to me how we failed to see before that any ideology that prioritizes life over death any ideology that prioritizes life after death is also prioritizing death over life. Any ideology that is prioritizing life after death is also prioritizing death over life. Sin is not a problem because it creates suffering, for blessed are those who suffer in my name. Sin is not a problem because it causes mass poverty, because he said the poor will be with you always. Salvation is never scripturally presented as a solution for a better life. It is presented as a promise of an afterlife. So the bait of the gospel is that humanity has a sin problem and it holds the solution. And when sin is platformed as the reason for suffering and harm, the gospel's bait is a tempting proposition. Because who doesn't want a solution to harm? Who doesn't want a better world? The bait is compelling. It appeals to our human desire to see better things happening in our world. That's beautiful bait. If there's a solution to suffering, I'm all in. I want to know. But the problem comes in with the switch. The switch of the gospel is that death is the solution. So watch this. The good news is that sin is the reason for suffering. You're suffering because you're separated from God. You actually deserve death because of your sin. But one man died to bear the weight of your sins, and then he rose and then left, but then he'll be back to judge you for those sins that he already carried the weight for. We'll talk about that later. And after that, the sin problem will finally be solved, and all the dead people who suffered will finally be saved. At least for 1,000 years until the dragon is released and the cycle tends to start all over again, right? The bait is presented as a solution to suffering and is so compelling that many people completely sideline the incoherence, inconsistencies, and the incompleteness of the switch. People desperately want an answer to the problem of us, and the greater gospel is the opportunity for post-religious communities to join that conversation, to start actually answering that question. So in a post-religious worldview, if sin is not the problem, if sin is not the root of all suffering, then what is? It's not sin, it's complexity. Oh, I hope y'all are ready for this. Are y'all watching? Y'all watching? Okay, I see y'all. I'm gonna try not to forget y'all. I normally have my other monitor where I can see y'all. I don't have it. I got this one down here, so I got to look down here. It is what it is. And now I'm looking at myself freezing. Okay, so human suffering is not caused by inherited moral stain. It comes from biology, scarcity, ignorance, tribalism, fear, ego, power, trauma, competing needs, bad systems, and limited perspectives. And that's not an exhaustive list, okay? Humanity's story is not a story of supernatural rescue from a perfect beginning lost to sin. It's the story of an imperfect species slowly rising through complexity by learning, adapting, collaborating, and expanding our capacity to care. Our whole evolutionary journey has been an expansion of our compassion, of our ability to care. You know, evolution is not perfection. It's an adaptation through difficulty. The gospel offers a simple moral explanation for why the world is broken. Sin. That's the reason behind everything. But the real world does not behave like it has one root cause. It behaves like a world shaped by layers of complexity. People suffer not because of a single spiritual defect, but because life is hard. Humans are limited. Systems are flawed. Needs compete, and we are always navigating more variables than any ancient framework could fully explain. Sin is an oversimplification that feels satisfying because it reduces chaos to a single culprit. Complexity, on the other hand, is harder to preach because it does not give you one enemy, it does not give you one cure, it does not give you one savior, nor does it give you one final answer, but it is more honest. Suffering has many causes. Human behavior is shaped by context, not just character. Harm emerges from interacting forces, not just evil intent. There's this illustration I always like to give because it's one that I think many of us can relate to because we've all been children and you've all been a child before. Maybe you failed, maybe you brushed up against a thorn bush. And what did you do? Bad bush. But it's not a bad bush, it's a bad interaction. It's an interaction that created harm. But we often do that with people. I had a bad experience. Now you're a bad person. But that's ignoring the complexity of reality. It just simply doesn't work that way. Watch this. It's so easy for people to harm you without even trying. People can hurt your feelings and not even think about it, not even know that they did it. And then if we don't learn the reality of complexity, we'll begin to feel that the world is harsher on us than it actually really is because we're attaching, here it is, agency to where we don't have an understanding of it yet. All right. Many of our problems require understanding, adaptation, coordination, and development rather than repentance. The reason religion keeps reaching for sin is because complexity is harder to package. We want someone to tell us there is one answer, but that's because we've already been told that there is one answer. The problem of humanity is not moral stain. The problem is that conscious social creatures are trying to survive and organize life inside of an incredibly complex reality. And if the real problem is complexity, then the answer is not salvation. It's continued evolution. It's continued growth. It's more cooperation. It's more learning. It's better systems and collective development. We were not born into sin. We were born into complexity and then robbed by religion of the nuance to navigate it. Humanity has not fallen from protection. Humanity has risen through complexity, adaptation, cooperation, learning, and self correction. Christianity says we failed, we got cursed, and now we need rescue. But the greater gospel is that we emerged, we struggled, we adapted, and we're still developing. And the truth of the matter is that complexity requires comprehension before conviction. It requires comprehension before conviction. Do I have understanding before I have an attachment to an opinion? I need comprehension, and then I also need consideration before condemnation. The reality is that our relationship status with life, if it needed to be updated on social media, it's complicated, and we don't like sitting with that. It's like we want to say, no, I'm happily married to life right now. And it just don't work that way. Some days life love you, some days it wants to kill you. You know, at one point, all of life was trying to eat us. We had to find a way to develop to not be food for everybody. Okay. We have a complicated relationship with reality. But just from even a personal relationships perspective, anything that you do not know well you're gonna have a complicated relationship. So by hiding our head in the dirt and refusing to investigate reality, we're just gonna complicate that relationship with reality even more. That's actually one of my, and I know it's a weird one, but one of the biggest reasons that I deconverted, it was one of these thoughts of hearing one day that, hey, we're losing access to our universe like little by little. And I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, yeah, we only got access like 4 or 5%. And I'm like, what? Like, hold on, what do you mean? Like, I don't even know how to sit with that. Cause it's like, oh, we've been wasting time. There's so much to explore, so much to discover, and we've had our heads in the sand, wasting time, waiting on one man to return, which would likely be a meteorite that would destroy the planet. All right, let me keep going. So, our relationship with life is complicated. So now that we know that we're not dealing with a sin problem, we're dealing with complexity, varying degrees of which, where does that leave us with the state of the world? The Christian gospel asserts that because of sin, societies have been corrupted and the world is in a broken condition. How do we approach this from a people centric humanist worldview? What does the greater gospel have to say about our broken world? Darante, how can you tell me the world isn't broken when you watch the news? With everything that's going on, surely we live in a broken world. I'm so glad you asked. It's not broken, it was never fixed. The old gospel, the so called good news, asserted that we have inherited a broken world that is in desperate need of cleansing. But I have no logical reason to assume that the world was ever a fixed thing in the first place. To say something is broken implies that there was once a state of wholeness, of perfection. But humanity isn't a broken version of a perfect thing. We are a developing version of a primitive thing. We didn't fall from a height, we're climbing from a depth. Nature was never painless. Human societies have never been fully just. Life was never fully safe. Humanity was never morally complete. The world has always been in process. It's always been under management. So calling the world broken smuggles in the assumption that it was once complete when it wasn't. Christianity teaches creation started fixed, sin broke it, and now salvation is going to restore it. But the greater gospel framework suggests that reality did not start in a fixed condition, that life itself emerged in struggle, that life in many ways has been defined by that struggle. Humanity developed inside instability. The task is not restoration to perfection, but continued improvement through participation. We're not trying to get back to Eden because there is no Edenic social perfection to return to. I don't know if y'all have ever done the history, but I can't find a point in human history that I can say was objectively better than where we are today. That does not make today comfortable. It does not. This is the reality. There is no perfect spot that we have identified yet. There's no place, hey, once we get here, we're all gonna be good. We don't even know which variables to count to come up with that formula. We're trying, but until we have that information, we should have no expectation of perfection. We should have no expectation of everything being perfect. We should have the observation of what is and a responsibility to respond to it. We're trying to build forward, not recover backward. You can't stop grieving a perfection that never existed. See, we aren't failing to meet a divine standard. We are succeeding in transcending our biological origins. The idea that the world should be fixed is a religious hangover. Nature isn't fixed, it's in flux. Okay. So just to make that make sense, just to drive that point home, hey, for you watching online, I've got to drive the point home. You can't fix a garden. You have to manage it. You have to cultivate it. There's not one thing you can just do, or there's not a few things you can just do. There's not a set of things you can do and just walk away and never touch it again. That's not how reality works. You have to update your realism in real time. You can do all the right things with the garden. You can sow the right seeds. You can do everything you're supposed to do. But if a pest like a boll weevil comes, you have to manage the garden. You can't say, oh, I guess my garden's broken now. But this is so often how we respond to society. Instead of becoming better managers of the world we share, we just say, oh, it's broken. That's that religious superstition hangover. If the world was never fixed, then the presence of struggle isn't evidence of sin. It's evidence of work yet to be done. It moves the audience from disappointment that the world is messy to determination to help organize it. We haven't been waiting for a repairman who isn't. We have been waiting for a repairman who isn't coming for a machine that isn't broken. It's just still under construction. We're the builders, not the customers. Customers speak the language of consumption. Builders speak the language of constructing. What can I do? One of the biggest things that religion gives us is someone to blame and someone to bow to. And what that does to us is it robs us of our capacity to participate. The old gospel says, restore what was lost. The greater gospel says, build what has never fully existed. Create better systems. Increase well-being. Expand care. Deepen wisdom. And improve the human condition. If our best days are trapped behind us, then they will never be ahead of us. If we're always trying to go backwards, then we're never going to build forward. The most destructive words uttered in the gospel are often its most celebrated. And in this case, 3 of the most important words of the gospel are 3 of the most destructive words to human capacity, accountability, and responsibility. And you probably don't even know where I'm going with this. I'm willing to wager that these 3 words, out of all the words in the entire Bible, stalled humanity's development the most. Do you want to know what I think those words are? In the Baptist tradition, as Jesus was dying, it is said they stretched him wide, he hung his head, and then he died. But in the Baptist tradition, to harmonize the fact that the Gospels has this dude saying literally 7 different things, we just decided he said all 7 of them while dying of asphyxiation. So we gave him these 7 sayings from Scripture, but the last of the 7s is, it is finished. The last of his 7 sayings. And I think these 3 words were the most damaging words to human capacity, to human accountability, and human responsibility. Christianity left us with an incomplete story and called it finished. They left us with an undiscovered world and called it fixed, leaving billions of people on this planet stuck waiting for better management as opposed to becoming better management. The world is not broken in the sense that it fell from some original perfection. The world is unfinished. Humanity is unfinished. Society is unfinished. And our responsibility is not to mourn a mythical past, but to participate in building a better future. And that leads me to my final point of this weekend. I told y'all I was going to move fast because we got to get up out of here. And that is, we are not falling. We are rising. That's really the big story. The good news begins with the defamation of character. That you are broken, you are dirty, you are hopeless, you are sin, and that God should kill you. But he's not. That's the good news. Fallen is a label used to keep people dependent on a lifeguard. It's to keep you stuck, to never see yourself as not only capable of helping yourself, but to also never see yourself as capable of helping others. And that's really where the greater harm comes in. If we aren't fallen, then we don't need to be saved. We need to be supported. We don't need grace. We need tools. The old gospel offered freedom from a grave of sin, into a kingdom of eternal subjugation. The greater gospel offers freedom from the cave of ignorance into the possibilities of our own capacity. If we are rising, what is required of people who know that? Well, number one, to stop seeing yourself as cursed, to stop waiting to be rescued, to stop. And the big thing with the waiting to be rescued is that what that ends up doing to you, and it's kind of like what I just said, you feel incapable of saving yourself. I'm not able to save myself. I can like go back through all of the songs I sang in church and realize how they screwed me over. I sang, Baptist, go Baptist way. I need thee, oh, I need thee. I'm trying not to yell it. If I was in a Baptist church, it'd be like, I need thee, oh. But I'm not going to do that. Black Baptist, not the Southern Baptist. They're a little different. But all these songs that I need, I'm depending on you. I give myself away. Greater, there's no one greater than you. We were listening to a song, I don't know if it was this morning or yesterday, and we were laughing at like, dang, we can't believe we should sing this song. But it was like, let all the other names fade away until there's only you. I'm like, dang, but there's nobody. Just that. How narcissistic do you have to be? And when you live your life worshiping a narcissist, you lose your value. You lose your ability to see yourself as someone capable. And so it's important to stop seeing yourself as someone who needs to be rescued and see yourself as someone capable of making it through the fire on your own, not just because it sounds good, but because we have a history of doing it. We have a history of doing it. Stop grieving a mythical perfection. Doesn't exist. That's probably one of the most liberating things for me in my life, because I tried so hard to be a perfectionist. I tried so hard. And the only thing that does, excuse my language, is makes you a jackass. You're just a jackass when you're a perfectionist, because perfection doesn't exist at least at this moment. It may exist somewhere down the road. I don't know. But as of now, it doesn't. So I literally have no way to quantify what I mean when I say perfection. It is an imaginary metric that we're putting on ourselves most of the times just to make ourselves feel less than. Like, no, I don't give myself permission to know anything that I don't know. And that's why perfection doesn't exist, because I don't know everything. There are things that I don't know. So I'm going to make mistakes. And guess what? I'm comfortable with it. I'm not comfortable with it. I do it with a smile on my face. I make the mistakes as happy as I can, because I learn more from my failures than I will ever learn from my wins. That's the beauty of deconstruction and deconversion for me. Next one, stop excusing inaction with theology. And maybe we should move that beyond theology, just ideology. Stop excusing, just end the sentence after stop excusing inaction, period. Action is what it takes. When I was a pastor, I remember we'd have a local shooting. You know what we're going to do? We're going to do one or two things. We're going to have a community prayer thing, or we're going to give away free shoes. Neither of which has anything to do with reducing crime. Stop excusing inaction. This is a big one. Accept that you are a part of an unfinished project. That's the reality of the human experience. It's not finished yet. And embrace your role in helping humanity rise. And don't let anybody else define what that looks like for you. I think that's the most beautiful thing we learned from the 1990s through the 2020s, is that the generations before you don't get to pick what the world looks like after you. They don't. I grew up when people told their children, you are wasting your time playing those video games. Nothing good is ever going to come from that. And wow, has the world changed. That's because there is no perfection. There is no predestination. So we do not have the sense of clarity to be able to tell our children what their world will look like. They are building that world in real time. I often have to remind myself that I cannot give my children a glimpse of this world. They are giving me the glimpse of the world. I can give them a glimpse of the world I came from. I have to learn the world as is through their eyes now. These eyes are biased. These eyes, things are too short, things are too long, that's too much color, that's too much makeup. There's so many biases in these old eyes that was born in the 80s. And don't make me sound too old. Yeah, it does. There's so much bias. But I have 4 beautiful children that I get to see the world through their eyes because they're shaped in a way differently than I am. Man, I hope this helps somebody. Okay, so because we're rising, we should think differently about ourselves. We should think differently about humanity. We should organize differently. We should build differently. We should belong differently. We should measure progress, simple metrics, decreased harm, increased well-being. Those are the metrics. Not how loud I was, not how many people showed up, not how right I was. Are we decreasing harm and increasing well-being? Because if we're not doing those things, we are no different than any other ideological echo chamber. We're just there to make ourselves feel better about our ideas instead of actually doing better in the world that we share. So the old gospel says, admit you're fallen, trust the Savior, wait for redemption. The greater gospel says, recognize that we are rising, join the work, and help build what comes next. A greater gospel leaves people with a new way to see themselves, not broken, not cursed, not damned, not fallen, but developing, adapting, unfinished, responsible, capable, and upward moving. I've lived by a saying for the past few years of my life, and I got to admit it came from a pastor, but I fell in love with it when I heard it. And since I've become a critical thinker, I love it even more. But I don't make excuses, I make adjustments. Because historically, I've seen that's what we can do. Excuses keep us trapped. And oftentimes in the false limitations of ourselves, the false stories we tell ourselves, adjustments remind us there's always a better way. Watch this, I don't have obstacles, I have objectives. That's not an obstacle. It's an objective for me to understand. It's something for me to learn how to navigate. As long as you believe that we are fallen sinners, yes, you will always be looking for our best in the past. But once you realize that we are not fallen, we're rising, you'll realize that you'll realize why you can't find us back there. So many people are looking for us in the past, Bob. They're trying to see what Buddha had to say, what Jesus had to say. Some people are going for all different types of ancient scrolls because it has to be something in the past. Maybe some indigenous culture got it right and we missed it. But this is why you can't find us there, because we don't live there. It's like we're looking for us in all the wrong places. The irony of it is, the scripture says you're looking for the dead among the living. And that's literally what religion has us do, are looking for the living among the dead. And that's what religion has us doing. Instead of paying attention to living people, we're seeking dead men's bones to give us insight in a world that we're living in. If we're not fallen, then our primary task is not repentance for an inheritance stain, but responsibility for an unfinished world. If we are rising, then every act of compassion, every better system, every expanded circle of concern, every lesson learned, every structure of belonging built, that is evolution in real time. The greater gospel is not that somebody got up one time long ago. It is that humanity keeps getting up. And now that we know that, the question is not whether we are saved. The question is whether we will participate. We aren't rising back to a lost perfection. We are rising into a brand new frontier, but it will require everyone's participation. That's how we get there. It's literally a no one left behind kind of mission. It's that type of mindset. So listen, for those of you watching the stream, and for those of you that are in here live, if today's talk is resonating with you, it's likely because some part of you already knows that we're not waiting on the world to be saved. We're learning how to help it rise. And hear that part clearly. We're learning how to help it rise. We don't have the answers. The answers are not that easy. It's complicated. We'll get some answers and they'll likely be wrong. And then we'll update them and we'll be happy about it. We're like, man, we thought that was the right way the whole time. And now we know this is a better way. That's our journey. We're learning how to help. And that's really why Bridge City exists. Bridge City is rebuilding the social infrastructure of belonging for a post-religious world. We are a people-centric community for those of us who still want rhythm, reflection, growth, service, and real connection, but without doctrinal gatekeeping, without having to perform certainty, and without pretending to be who we are not. Bridge City's core promise is not just community without belief, but scalable participation, belonging, growing, and building together. So if you're tired of the old stories, if you're tired of seeing yourself as fallen, if you're ready for a way of belonging built on shared humanity instead of enforced belief, then I want you to be a part of something that's not organized around what people reject, but we're organized around what people can build together, and that is Bridge City. Come help us build what comes next, because the future of community will not be built on certainty. It will be built on participation. It won't be built on one man's dream, one woman's plan, one anybody's vision. It'll be built when we work together, when we learn each other, when we stop trying to control each other, learning how to let each other live and learning what life is. That's a muscle we have to learn how to rework, because it's been out of work for a while. It's been out of commission. Honestly, we've been living in knee-jerk reactions so long. We seem to have somewhat of a problem of intentionality with the way that we approach life. And I realized this even, 2016, sitting at my kitchen table at 580 pounds and sitting there thinking, how have I managed to be this big? Because I was big my whole life. It wasn't like, I started off skinny. I mean, everybody started off skinny, but I was plump from an early age, So, but 2016, I'm sitting at my kitchen table like, how did I get this big? Why am I this big? I'm a smart person. Why can't I figure out how to lose weight? That was my conversation with myself. And it was, and I remember I asked my wife, I said, why do we eat? And I know her first thought had been like, what you mean? Like, we eat because we hungry, And I'm like, no, like, why do we as a biological engine eat? Why do we eat? And of course, the answer was energy consumption in order to actually engage life. And I actually had to think about that for a moment, because in my culture, there's something called the itis. I don't know if y'all have ever heard the itis. Have y'all heard the itis out there? The itis is when you eat so much that you're really just ready to go to sleep. I've ate and I'm ready to just go to sleep. I'm going to lay down. And that's like every meal. Somebody knows what the itis is. I saw you. And that's like every meal, But then I started just kind of unpacking that, and I realized, oh man, I got a lot of issues with eating. All right, some of those issues come from poverty. Grow up poor, eat what's on your plate, or you get a beating. Some of that comes from eat everything on your plate because it's there. But another part of that came from not critically engaging my own life. That 2016 was the first time I'd asked that question, and I'm willing to bet that I'm not the only one who's never even thought about asking that question. Because it was what I had to sit in is, Darante, you eat because it tastes good. You eat because it looks good. You eat because it smells good. You eat because it feels good. You eat because it appeals to the five senses, but ultimately you eat without reason. You eat without intentionality. You haven't even tried. And look, I ain't trying to make anybody feel bad. This was the conversation I had with myself. And I realized if you overload a battery, you're not doing it any good. And that's what I was doing to myself, stuffing myself constantly. And then I stopped because information is motivation. It was about intentionality. Like I think I was eating something on the way up here. What was up? Telling myself I eat fast food. Don't be mad. Don't hate. I like McDonald's too. So I got a McGriddle. My son got one first, so blame him. Blame him. I got a McGriddle, sausage McGriddle. I couldn't eat the whole thing. But former me, I would have needed 4 of those. And would have been like, nah, like this ain't enough. Why they making these things so small? Pancakes ain't this small, you know? But like, that's living life intentionally. It's not just about, it doesn't just impact what we believe about religion, it impacts what we believe about ourselves. And for the first time, me losing weight wasn't about wanting to look good. For the first time, me losing weight wasn't about image. For the first time, me losing weight was literally just about me wanting to be a better me. And so after damn near 24 years of living, I think I was older than that by that time, 28, about 28 years of living, I finally started losing weight, not going to the gym, not doing any of that, but by paying attention to my life. That's the power of reason. I had prayed for years. I had fasted for years. I'd went to all types of conventions. I tried all types of trends and nothing worked, but reason did. It's like reversing that magical beanstalk thing. It's like, dude, if you really would have just got the cow, y'all would have been much better off. But you've wasted your life on these beanstalks. And because we've been living, and I know y'all was wondering where I'm going with this, because we've been living in that beanstalk world, we're literally living just with these knee-jerk reactions. Monkey see, monkey do. This is why when you're walking down the street, you say, hey, how you doing? When you really don't mean it. Because we're not living intentionally. We're living off of scripts, almost algorithms that were pre-planned because we didn't stop to check it. Think about that next time you see somebody and you say, hey, how you doing? Do I really want to know? If they really stopped and started telling me how they were feeling right now, would I really have the time to be present? But I say it. And if I do that easily, what else am I doing in my life without intention? I think that's the state of the world we're in today, is that we're all living in it, but not many of us are intentional about it. But when you come from a society that really told you it was going to be one man's problem, God is going to fix it. Government is going to fix it. The longer we depend on that, the more we continue to live life with no intention, and we don't become a part of the solution. And that concludes my talk. Now I'm going to explain to my streaming folk real quick. Oh, y'all can clap, yeah. Y'all hear the clapping? I didn't pay them to do that. I told them to do it, but I did not pay them to do it. Now let me stop. I do want to explain for the streaming audience. Hey, welcome in. Today is shorter because when we stream, I have to follow YouTube's rules. And YouTube's rules, if somebody joins your stream 30 minutes in and you end 30 minutes later, then they feel like they got gypped. But today we're live and I cannot keep these people in here for 2 hours talking. I can do that to y'all because y'all at home and you're doing your own stuff. They trapped in here with a room with me. Room is kind of small. My breath may not smell too good. It eventually get to them. They'll be ready to go. 2 hours is a long time. But thank y'all so much for being here with us today. For those of you online, I'm going to spend some time with the people that are here. We're going to close out with our next steps and make sure I can get it up. I got it now. Thank y'all so much for joining us today. Until next time, keep rising and be the bridge.
What an incredible session. We are just scratching the surface of what it means to live out the greater gospel. I want to hear from you. What was your light bulb moment today? Drop it in the comments right now or head over to the comments on the global campus to keep the conversation going. Speaking of moving the conversation forward, if you're making the decision to officially join BridgeCity today, let me be the first to say, welcome to the Bridge. We don't believe in gatekeeping community. If you found freedom here, you belong here. Your first step is to follow the link on the screen. That is your portal to the global campus where you can transition from a spectator to a builder. We've made your pathway easy with brief learning tracks that break down our mission and our model. By the time you finish your next steps, you won't just know about us, you'll know exactly how to plug in and make an impact. Joining gives you access to member-only content, specialized circles, and courses designed to help you live better. If you're ready to bridge the gap between where you are and where you're going, click that link. We can't wait to see you inside. For the rest of our family, if you value these weekly sessions and believe that a more inclusive, empowering gospel is worth spreading, let's create an opportunity for generosity. Your giving is the fuel for this mission. It makes this space accessible, sustainable, and most importantly, scalable. When you give, you aren't just paying the bills, you are empowering our bridges to reach further and support more people who are navigating their own deconstruction. Think about it, with relatively little, we've already impacted hundreds of lives through these sessions in our virtual campus. Imagine what we can establish and promote with your consistent, intentional support. Whether it's weekly or monthly, your gift allows us to train new leaders and power new projects that move people forward. The link and the QR code are on the screen. Thank you for making a statement of support today. You are the reason this vision has legs. And finally, don't keep this to yourself. A bridge is only as effective as the places it reaches. If you know someone who feels stuck in a religious construct that no longer fits, show them that there is life after uncertainty. Share this replay, invite them to a watch party, and let's show the world that the greater gospel is exactly what we've been waiting for. Let's reach the world together. Thank you for joining us this weekend for the Greater Gospel series. To our visitors, I hope this conversation gave you something to carry with you this week. Remember, the first time you're a visitor, the second time you're a guest, but by that third visit, you're as good as family. We can't wait to see you back here next weekend as we continue to explore what an inclusive, empowering gospel actually looks like. To our members, don't let the conversation end here. Make sure to stay updated on all our upcoming events and activities by checking the comments, diving into your clubs, and keeping an eye on the global campus calendar. There is so much happening behind the scenes to help you build better and live better. That's all for today, Bridge City. As you head out into your week, remember, you are no longer bound by the old constructs. You are free to be forward-thinking, people-centric, and life-affirming in every space you occupy. Until next time, keep rising and be the bridge.
Made it through hunger, you made it through pain, you made it through drought and you made it through rain. You rose over conflict, you've conquered your shame. You've done it before and you'll do it again.
You made it through hunger, you made it through pain,
Yeah.
you made it through drought and you made it through rain. You rose over conflict, you conquered your shame.
Yeah. That can ever take your place, 'cause you made it here. You are one of us, this global human race. You made it here.
There is nothing that can ever take your place,
'Cause you made it here. You are one of us, this global human race. You made it here.
you made up your mind.
Yeah.
You dealt with the hardest of times.
Oh.
You're finding your joy now and learning to shine.
Oh.
Enjoying your voice and reclaiming your time.
Again, you
made it through dark.
Yeah.
Made up your mind.
Yeah.
You dealt with the hardest of times.
You're
Finding your joy.
Your joy now.
Learning to shine.
Enjoy.
Enjoying your voice and reclaiming your time.
There is nothing that can ever take your place.
You made it here.
You are one of us, this global human race.
You made it
Yeah.
here.
There is nothing that can ever take your place.
You made it here.
You are one of us, this global human race.
You made it
If you know that you made it, come on, stand up and say it. If you know that you made it, don't let them hold you back any longer.
ever take your place. You are one of us, this global human race. Oh, there's nothing that could ever take your place. Is anybody glad that you made it?